Hi everybody, it's Russ from My Hammers 11. I hope you're safe and well. Obviously, new to the channel, please consider subscribing, hitting the bell icon so you're notified of any time we put new content on. We have interviews going up daily, but sometimes 2-3 times a day. I wouldn't want you to miss any of these amazing guests we've got coming up, including today's guest. We'll talk about where he's calling in from at the moment, because that'll be interesting. But he played 70 times for the club. He was, prominent in the 92-93 season. We went up and into the top flight, and obviously played in the Premier League. He's actually the first ever player I met personally as a footballer. Pete, I remember, but I did. And we'll talk about that in a tick. It's Pete Butler. How you doing, man?
I'm all right, yeah. I'm good, Russ, yeah. Bit warm.
Yeah, a bit warm. And yeah, it's not like it's normal UK weather where you are, is it?
No, it's cracking flags outside. Saying that, though, it's the monsoon season at the moment, but it goes from one extreme to the other. But no, I can't complain. Saying that, I mean, you've had some wonderful weather in England, even though you have been under lockdown, haven't you?
Yeah. What's it like where, for those of you who don't know, obviously Pete is national manager of Liberia. And he's in a complex which is owned by George Weir, because obviously George he spends he sort of sponsors the team, doesn't he? He puts money in, doesn't he, or something like that, really?
Well, I hope so, because he's the president of the country. So I should imagine. Now, to be honest, he's a regular guy. He's the type of guy you could go and chew the fat and have and he's called me across once or twice. He's got a football pitch just out here in front of us. You can only play 9v9 on it, but. No, he's a regular guy. He's a nice chap, and there's no sort of airs and graces about him. It has to be Your Excellency and Mr. President, not Big G or anything like that. So yeah, I live in his compound, so he lives just down the road, and I've been here since August 2019. I came. I took the job there, and obviously we've been sort of obviously in terms of fixtures, and the program's been sort of decimated because of the virus, which everybody has, and that's probably why we're probably doing this show. But no, I'm enjoying it. I've enjoyed it. Great people, lovely people, and very very hospitable. But it's a completely different surrounding, different environment.
I can imagine. And for those of you interested, Pete's about 2 minutes away from the beach.
And I won't be going there after that for a beer either.
Definitely not. But but so that's the idea. You're totally right. The idea of this channel was there was bugger all football on the telly, and so we started this channel as an idea, and it's just grown. It's brilliant, and hopefully, we've only got a week and a half until hopefully the Premier League's back, and we'll see what happens. What happens. But until then, we can look back and talk to people and talk about their memories of the club. So obviously, for you, as I said, you were the first ever football player I met, because, and they'd never do this anymore, the junior Hammers used to do birthday parties, and in their little place in the sort of the sports hall, the school thing next door, wasn't it? And a player would turn up, and I think ours was on like Tuesday night. I think we'd played at home on the Monday. You played on the Monday. And I was just absolutely astounded that a player would turn up, and it was you. And I was like, Pete Butler. And from then on, I followed your career. Just, certain players that are close to your heart. And
you've had to follow it wide and far, that's for sure.
Plenty of Wikipedia searches, I'll be honest. It's all over the place. But yeah, it's brilliant.
The Phileas Fogg of football.
Yeah. That's what they said. I read an article about you the other day, and that's what they said, the most travelled man in football or something like that. And I was like,
done a few miles.
Yeah, a few miles. But going back to West Ham, obviously, you signed from Southend. We'll talk about your first training session, because Martin Allen made a point of telling me about you in your first training session. But the first question I ask all West Ham ex-players was why West Ham, Pete? Why West Ham?
It was funny because I'd just come off the back of a ruptured patella tendon. I were out for about 7 or 8 months at Southend. We'd had back-to-back promotions at Southend, and David Webb had done an incredible job with some really good players, young lads coming through, and we played West Ham in a pre-season friendly, and I'd obviously impressed Billy and Harry, and Harry knew me from old anyway. Well, Harry was there at the time. It was that season we played Bournemouth, last penultimate game of the season, where we sort of basically shafted Bournemouth at Dean Court, stopped them from going into the playoffs, and I was on loan at Huddersfield Town.
Yeah.
Played last 7 games, and they were having a shocking run, and we ended up winning 6 out of 7. Right. Won 6. I think we won 6 and drew 1, but that was the game we drew. And I'd obviously made an impression with him, and he called me. I got a call, and it seems like yesterday. It's quite strange, and I remember it vividly because I was living in Eastwood in Southend, and I remember getting a phone call, and Billy Bonds doesn't ring many people, no. And he was. I had quite a really good relationship with him. He was, quite unique character. He is, and a very warm, square peg, square holes type of guy. He's your regular guy, and no airs and graces about him, and never promised me anything. And I ended up going on trial for 2 weeks, and I were only there about 4 or 5 days, and we were doing some running. And little did I know is that him and Harry used to bet on who'd win the race between me and Matthew Rush. And as far as I was concerned, it was no contest because I could blow him out of the water. I weren't the greatest footballer in the world, but I could run. Yeah. So, and then they just pulled me in, and he offered me a deal, and it went to a conditional tribunal in Lancaster Gate at the time. And then I had to wait because of this conditional tribunal, and then I ended up, signing on the dotted line, and I loved my time there. It was quite unique because it was in difficult times as well at West Ham. They just come off the bond scheme and been a failure. Team had got relegated, and there were a lot of lads there who really weren't, without being disrespectful, weren't pulling the weight. They were a waste of kit, and Billy brought Harry in, and Harry met Sally. You know what I mean? The story goes, and he just changed it and brought in some characters, and thank God, I fitted into that mould, and it was quite a time of my life. A lot happened when I was there for 3 years, 2.5, 3 years. A lot happened, Births, played my debut there, played in the Premier League, deaths, the whole caboodle. So it was quite a special, special part of time of my career, and also an important time of West Ham's career as well, because they were on that verge where obviously the Premier League money you had to be in it, to get, to win it and be involved in it. If not, it could have fallen away like many other teams did, because they didn't have the financial backing. No. So it was interesting times, and a good time to be at West Ham.
Yeah, no, it was, and obviously, you were part of that sort of group of people. I said Martin Allens and Bishies and people like that. It was I can imagine how you fitted in. Martin told me a story the other day how your first training session, you turned up in your high tech boots, and he was like, "Who the fuck's this guy?" And then after 10 minutes, you were like, a couple of tackles, couple of runs, beating everyone the runs. You were like, he was in. And obviously you formed a great sort of, that midfield, was formidable, I think, particularly obviously in the 92-93. And then going into obviously the Premiership afterwards, that whole, we had a cracking midfield, that team.
I actually like those high-tech boots. They were good to me, high-tech. No, it was, when you're at Southend, you have to be thankful for small mercies. Yeah. It's not like now, you know what I mean, where it's like, training grounds and the stadiums are like Hollywood, you know what I mean? And Ferraris and Rolls Royces and Bentleys parked in the car park. I had a Nissan Sunny estate where I used to put my 2 dogs in, and I used to drive up to training in it. I weren't proud, I weren't bothered. But Martin and Clive and Bish, they were a really good bunch of lads, Alvin and that. They really sort of welcomed me, and I remember, I think it was the first day we went to Redbridge running track to do a bit of a physical there, and Clive turned around. I sat next to Clive in the dressing room, and Clive sat next to Martin, and there were small dressing rooms at Chadwell Heath.
Yeah.
And I looked around and I could see all these characters: Julian Dix, you know, Trevor Morley, Ian Bishop, you know, Alvin Martin, Tony Gale. I'm thinking, oh, but they were nice lads, good lads, and they made me. Clive said to me, "Get your towel, Pete. Come on, you know, we're going for a shower. You know what I mean? It was like, get your towel, going in my car, and yeah, they looked after me, and it were a, you know, a really, it was quite easy to fit in there.
Yeah,
it was really easy to fit in, and Martin he were on the receiving end of a few of my tackles, and I've no doubt I were on the receiving end of a few of his, and I got on well with Martin. You know, I could tell you some stories about him. I always remember once on a Christmas do, we went into town, and he pinched this guy's trilby, and left walked out with his hat on, and I looked and I talked to this bloke, and he said, "Where's my trilby?" And I thought, oh, Martin's probably like, he's walking down the street with this bloke's trilby on, and it was a really posh gentleman's club in London, and it could have been anybody. And I'll never forget it. And I thought, can't believe you put me in that situation. But yeah, good lads.
Yeah, they were good lads. Yeah, Martin. Yeah, obviously I've had Martin and Bish in the last couple of days, and it was like they were telling me stories to outdo each other, and it's just you know, Martin would tell you how Bish would say how he you know, he got quite fond of a pack of extra strong mints in his pocket when he's coming to training.
Yeah, we all know why. We all know why. Bish was unique. You know, he could come in like, you know what I mean, rocking and rolling and swaying, and it's still look, you know what I mean. He could be the, you know, the dog's bollocks in training. He was a very, very talented footballer, and if anything, I always felt that he could have gone and should have gone on. You know, people say maybe he needed that extra yard of pace, but I always felt he could have gone on, you know, to bigger stuff as well. He, you know, when you compare him to other players, and he was a special character as well, great guy, and I get on really well with him.
Yeah, he's a great guy. He's a great guy. So obviously, you know, in that sort of 2.5, 3 year period, there's obviously, you know, we got promotion and we played in the Premier League, you know, massive sort of highs. You know, were there any particular games in that period or particular moments, or, you know, you scored a couple of goals, you know, anything which sort of stays in your mind as like a real a memory that stays close to you for that, over that period?
Oh, there's a few, you know, you know, that said, there were a lot of ups and downs, and through that period, you know, we had the death of the great Bobby Moore.
Yeah,
remember the game when we played at Sunderland straight afterwards when it all came out, and it weren't a nice experience. You know, thankfully we never lost that game. We drew up at Roker Park, and you know, the respect the people in Sunderland showed, as well as the West Ham supporters, were actually quite special. But I think one of the big games, and I'll never forget it. We were it were at the start of my sort of time there, and we played West. A lot of fans will remember it because it was a big game. We played West Brom in the FA Cup.
Yeah.
At the Hawthorns, and obviously I played at the Hawthorns as well afterwards. And Alvin Martin got us all together at the middle of the pitch, and we were talking the radio show going up. I never forgot it. We drove up here, you know, stopped at the lodge on just off the M5. And he said, he got us all together in the middle of the pitch, and he said, listen, and there must have been 10,000 West Ham fans behind, you know, at the Hawthorns.
Yeah.
There were thousands. And I think there were 10,000. They were everywhere. And I thought, he turned around and went, right, he went, everybody expects, we are the banana skin today, but we're not going to give them, you know, anything to talk about. We're going to come here, we're going to do the business. Because if you turn around, he made everybody turn around and look at the fans, and he said, that's what it means to us today. They make sure they go home with a smile on their face. I think we beat them 2-0.
Yeah.
And we played ever so well. I think Trevor scored, and maybe Clive. And that really, for me, was sort of, you know, lit the torch for us moving forward as a group, because we did have some big-time Charlies there who thought they were. And we had a lot of lads who were coming through trying to make their way. And it just realised that, and I think a lot of people realised that, hang on a minute, nobody's place is, you know, can be taken for granted here. You know, even in midfield with myself battling for a position with Bish and Martin. And I think that game really sort of epitomised. There's loads I could go on. The Swindon game, penultimate game of the season, you know, when we won at Swindon, you know, which was quite unique. You know, Kenny smashed one in from like 25 yards, and you know, my first game, you know, thousands of West Ham fans at Oakwell, and I'm looking and I'm thinking, you know, I'm thinking to myself, God, you know what I mean? It's like baptism of fire, you know. But it was just a great period, and a lot of really, really important pressure games as well, and you know, no better feeling than playing under the lights at Upton Park as well. Yeah.
No, exactly.
Upton Park seems a strange word that these days, doesn't it?
It does. It's getting slightly more distant memories, unfortunately. Fortunately, you know, it's progress, isn't it? And you know, as I said, that's the whole point of this sort of whole channel, is to sort of document all these memories, and not just of Upton Park, but obviously players who some people have seen, some people didn't see because they weren't around in that time. You know, people who are fans from the mid '60s and got to see, you know, Bobby and Jeff and Martin play. And it's really nice, because I'm really sort of learning, because, like, to be honest, like, from yours was like, your period was like my first iteration of West Ham, and from then on I'm all right, you know. But from about 90s back, I didn't know as much as I have done recently. Obviously, talking to lots of people around the FA Cup winners. Obviously, we interviewed like people like David Cross and people like that, and no, it's really, really cool. And then what we do with everyone, as I said, Pete, before we started, was we try and do a Hammers 11. So it's usually, for the fans, people they've seen, but for the players, I like to say players they've played with, obviously, for the club during that period. So it would be good to try and get your Hammers 11. I've got an idea of probably a few players you'd probably pick, and we try and keep it to a 4-4-2 as well, because
okay, I was going to ask you that.
Well, I'm up to not up to bribery, but I'm up to suggestions. You know, if you want to change it, you can change it. I'm a little bit better at video editing than I was before I started, so that was why it was always 4-4-2. But more people, it's like I've learned, talking to the older fans, you know, about left half, inside half, and I don't know what that was before I started and all that type of stuff. But,
do you know, I just did a thing for a blogger the other day, and we got talking, and he was about like the difference of, you know, how the game's changed.
Yeah.
I said, you know, the game's now, it's full of anecdotes. It's all about, you know, not defending deep. It's all about, you know, defending with a low block now, or it's not about cold counter-attacking now. It's called, you know, a quick transition, or not playing out from the back. It's about playing through the lines. And it's all bullshit. You know, let's be honest here. It's all these fancy words that people have been blagging a living from the game for years and years. And I just listen to them, and it's like, you know, and I think a lot of teams have I find it's become a little bit boring now.
Yeah,
Premier League. It's become boring. Most teams set up to play like a 4-2-3-1. You know, it's basically a flat back four and five, you know, 5 on one, and everybody defends deep and then tries to catch teams on the counter attacking. I think there's a lot of positives, and I just think there's more negatives than positives in the modern day era. Don't get me wrong, I'm still a big fan, and I can't wait for it to start.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Restart. But it has. I just think it's full of gadgets, you know, GPS vests, you know, fitness conditioners. You know, game's changed. Fast pictures. I could go on all day about it.
It's true, and I think that's really, and it's not just the actual sort of the game itself, but I think the players, you don't get characters anymore. You don't get people like you or Mad Dog or Bish or Moncur or even a bit like Di Canio. You don't get like those people anymore. I think it's almost the sport has become so professional, so scientific, that it's almost nullified that part of, and that's what people get. You know, that's why people still talk about you, still talk about Mad Dog, still talk about, you know, like your Bonzis and stuff like that, because they're real characters of the game, and you don't get that anymore now, which is a shame.
Well, I've got a friend here, and he's from London, lives in Greenwich, and we were talking about this like a couple of nights ago. And he said to me, we got talking about the pitches, you know, the Hollywood style facilities, training, and, you know, conference facilities, hotels at the grounds, etc. The pitches now are not even normal grass; they're like 50% artificial and 50% with the plastic roots. You don't pull. That's the question. 10, 15, 20, 25 years ago, were West Ham playing in the any worse football or better football than they are in the modern day era, with all the fast pitches, because the pitches do make a massive difference, huge difference in terms of actually, watering the pitch. When we were open, it'd piss down before the game. I meant to get some water. Now pop-up sprinklers, and so you can fizz the ball around, and the ball's like with these polyurethane balls. And I don't know. I mean, I just think the characters have died. They've really died, and we cry out to see young players come through the system, and great to see players like Nobby and Declan Rice, come through, and 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 hopefully it'll come back.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
No, but also I think it's not just like the characters, the jokers, and thinking of those stories, but even things like leadership. I don't, someone that you don't have like an abundance in the Premier League. It used to be every team had their leader, whether it was a John Terry or maybe Vieira or Petit. We've got sort of
Can you mention John Terry on this channel?
Yes, you can, because John Terry got
He's an East End boy, isn't
he? He's an East End boy, and he got a clap when he was wearing at the testimony when he was wearing the West Ham shirt. I've seen he's had a clap, but you know what I mean. It's like you don't get that. Even in the national game, you don't got leaders anymore now, and the boys who are leaders, like someone like Deck. I think Deck is a born leader, really. He sticks out like a sore thumb. And you don't, and it's just, I think it's almost become, people have become nullified by the professionalism, as you said, because they're in GPS shirts and vests and stuff like that.
No, it's changed. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think there is a place for it.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it's trying to sort of blend that, the old with the new. But you square peg, square holes, you know what I mean? Round peg, round holes. I'm a pragmatist, and I always have been. And I just try and, it's like when you work in this part of the world, and you go and take your training sessions, and you see young lads at the side of the road crushing, smashing rocks for $1 a day, and then you turn up, there's no boots for kids. The youngsters have got no boots or kit, and you just makes you realise puts things into perspective. And and then people complain and moan, and I just think, if you're not born, you did. Working in Africa is quite a humbling experience, and a special experience.
No, I totally understand that, and you're right. And I think in the same way, all this stuff that's happened, but from a UK perspective, I hope that someone said the other day to me, "Oh, you're going to see football, going to see West Ham is a bit like a chore over the last couple of seasons, but it's a chore they want to bring back. They want to, and hopefully people will appreciate the smaller things in life. We can moan about if Moyes plays Antonio or Zabaleta, but in the grand scheme of things, it's inconsequential, really, isn't it? And as you said, when you go to like Tilken, where you're playing, you manage it at the moment, it's when kids ain't got football boots and there's sort of all the poverty, it's just puts everything into perspective, I think.
When I was national team coach of Botswana, I used to have to drive around the country, and the Duke of Edinburgh Trust were fantastic. They were really supportive of what I was doing. Yeah. So they used to give me boxes of balls, bibs and cones, etc. And I used to drive 6 hours, 10 hours in the back of this pickup truck that I had. And I used to drive around, and I used to do things called TIPs, talent identification programs. And I used to do them in certain areas. I won't bore you going into it, but I used to go and give it to these schools, and I'd once given to prison. So I did one at a place called Kasane, right on near the Livingston Falls. Never forget it as long as I live. We turned up, and the guy rang me at the hotel. He said, "Pete, you coming? Coming to the game?" I said, "I thought we'll start tomorrow." He said, No, there's a game on today because we want waiting for you to start. So I said to my mate, his mate came up with me. So I said, "Come on, we better get down there quick." It's in the prison grounds. The match is in the prison grounds. It's a league game. And as we drove in, I got out of the van, and they're all stood on pitch. And then there's all these guys in these orange uniforms, and they're all jumping up and down. And I went, "What's going on? Has somebody scored?" And he went, No. He said, "It's the first time the national coach has ever come to watch a game here." He goes, "And they're so happy." So I went to get a ball out of the back of the car to kick it over into prison thing, and the bloke went, no, you can't do that. So I was like, they might think there's drugs in there.
Yeah.
So what I did was, I went and gave them a load of balls,
Yeah.
and I went and bought some tins of paint and some wire brushes, and I had some new nets as well with me. And I donated them to the prison. And cut long story short, I did the TIP, went fantastically well, brilliant people. And by the time I'd gone back to the hotel to come back to the thing, they'd ripped the nets off and they were scrubbing the post down and painting the post in the prison grounds. You know, these convicts. So that puts life into perspective.
God, yeah.
And I could tell you, you know, I won't bore you with a million stories like that, but it's, you know, simple things in life sometimes are the nicest things, you know. It was a great experience for me.
Oh, incredible life experience. Anyway, let's talk about your Hammers 11. No, it just seems like a real weird segue. But no, it's an incredible experience. But as I said, we do try and do this Hammers 11 thing. So, you know, we try and, as I said, we can do whatever formation you want, Pete. I'm not fussed. If you want to go straight 4-4-2, if we do something a bit more creative, you know, you're probably our first international coach manager we've had on, so you know I'm open to suggestions basically. But goalkeeper, we know where we are. A goalkeeper. Who would be in goal for the Butler 11? For your Butler 11?
It's a no-brainer, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
The guy who used to wash his kit after training, you know, every single day and give it to Eddie Gillen. It had to be. It's got to be Ludo.
Yeah.
You know. Not only did he provide us with the Czechoslovakian Pilsner beer, because he had a coach driver who used to bring it by the cartload. Wow. That wasn't one of the reasons. He had a garage full of it where he lived. He was just an amazing character. Yeah. Great, you know, quiet, unassuming. Can you honestly tell me, would there be a goalkeeper, an international goalkeeper, driving around in a sponsored Skoda today in this day and age? No. He was unique, and he was worth his weight in gold. He saved us. He won us promotion, I felt, that year. He were outstanding, and and he used to wash his kit straight after every single day after training. His own kit every day. He used to get in the shower, and you'd look and go, "What's he doing?" And he used to say to me, Peter, because it makes the job easier for Eddie to get the mud out because of all the time. I looked at him and I used to go, right, okay. And then number one. Number one, he was different class.
Yeah.
Different class.
No, I agree. Lovely guy as well. And that's the thing, I'm getting all these nice anecdotal stories from the fans about interaction between players and fans. And Ludo comes up all the time in terms of having time for anyone. He's a lovely guy. Right, we'll put Ludo in. Right, we go defence. We're going to play 4 at the back, 3 at the back. What do you want to play, Pete?
Well, rather than be boring and go 4-4-2, I'm going to go 3-5-2.
Okay, yeah, no problem.
Or it might be a 3-4, could be a 3-4, 3-4-3, 3-5-2. I'm going to go.
Okay,
and we'll make it up as we go along.
Yeah, sounds all right. Okay, we'll go. Who's you going to? So you're 3 at the back. Who are we going to have? Who's your first one? The 3 at the back.
I'd have to go with Stretch, because I think he's one of the best professionals I've ever played with. And I think you'd have to pick, if you were going to go with a 4, you'd have to pick one of the other 2, which would be Reg or Potsy. And that's the reason why I'm going to go with 3, because I think they're all really, really good players, and it would be unfair to leave Potsy out because I thought he was Mr. Consistent.
Yeah.
So I would go Stretch, Potsy on the right side, and Gailey in the left, or Malvin on the left, or Reg in the middle. Yeah. But I would definitely go. I would play those 3 at the back. Whether they could play that, we once played it once at Leicester, and we ended up winning. So we didn't play great, but we defended like to save us lives. And the first time we played 3 at the back, and it worked for us. But I think in this day and age, everyone plays, 4-2-3-1, and it just gets a bit boring. And and I like to play. I think a lot of young strikers now learn, especially combination play. The art of combination play with 2 strikers working, spinning off each other and making runs, one coming short, one going in behind. There's been a bit of a dying art, and I do like to play with 2 strikers. So that's why I'm going to go 3-5-2. So
put Potsy. So we put Potsy, Stretch, and sorry, was it Gailey or Alvin? Which one do you want?
Well, yeah, I'd go with Reg.
Yeah.
Reg, Alvin on the left, Reg in the middle, and Potsy on the right side.
That sounds good, man. Yeah, I like that. Nice.
Potsy's quick, so if you get and Alvin's quick as well.
Yeah. No,
Hence the name Stretch.
Yeah. It's funny. It's like when I was talking to Martin the other day, and he said, "I said, who are you going to put on the right back?" He played for the back. He played right back, and he went, "I'm going to put the robot." And I went, "What? The robot?" He went, "Yeah, you know the robot. Yeah, the robot, the machine." And when he said machine, I knew he meant break Tim, but it was like, it's the robot. It's just so funny. We had one of them, I can't remember who it was, it might be Gailey, and he tried to do the whole team in nicknames. And I was like, "God, I'll be honest, I don't know who the fuck you're talking about." You know, it's just, so yeah, that's a good start. We'll go for that. But right, let's go for the middle. We play whatever we're gonna. Whatever you want. Talk about whatever you want in the middle.
Well, obviously, I'm not going to pick myself, so
you can.
I can't pick this. All right, I'll pick myself.
Yeah, Gailey put himself as captain, penalty taker, corner taker, free kick taker, and first team coach.
Well, he would do, wouldn't he? Yeah, he's from that side of London. No, I always felt it was always going to be, a three in midfield with, and because I played quite a lot of football with both of them, I would like to think that I would not want to leave one of them out, i.e. Martin and Bish, because they were both special characters. And, Bish, obviously, very, very good footballer. Yeah. Different to all three of us. And I thought all three of us were a little bit different. We all brought our own qualities, I always remember Harry saying, when I played with Bish once at Southampton, I think it was on a Monday night, when it was live from Sky, and we ended up winning the game. And he turned around at half time. He said, "Pete, all I want you to do is just win the ball and give it to the maestro, let him play." And I looked at him and I thought, yeah, all right. So, I'd go that. I'd put myself in then, and I'd go with Martin, maybe playing a little bit more advanced, or whether we played like with an anchor man in midfield and two playing a little bit further forward, but it probably would be Bish, Martin, and myself. Yeah,
that's nice. I like that. I think and that was the three of you just epitomised that sort of that my era. That whether it was just brilliant. I said I'm a bit of a massive fanboy of yours, Peter. So it's like I'm a bit a bit flustered. Really, I don't get flustered talking to players, but for you, I just really and it's really. But yeah, okay, right. So we put the three of you. Right, let's go. So we've got three at the back. We've got the three in the middle. Who do you want to talk about next?
Well, I think you're talking about playing wing backs, and you can only play lads wing backs. You call them whatever you want to call them, half backs, wing back. You got to play attacking players who can get up and down the pitch, and they have got great engines. And for me, probably the right back of that era, and I was there. What Kenny did really, really well. Was a really good player, good footballer. But I'd have to go with Tim. Because he had such a fantastic engine. He was a machine. He was a really good professional, and I would think he'd be one of those guys at home that would count the peas on the plate of him and his wife. You know what I mean? You've got more peas than me. He was meticulous in his preparation, but a good lad as well, and a good footballer. And so I would play him on the right. Yeah. And then on the left, I'd go with Dixie. Yeah. Yeah, because you can't leave him out.
No, you can't. No, you can't leave him out.
And in all fairness, he was great going forward, and he could defend as well when he had his head on. But he's probably one of the best passers of the ball I've ever worked with. He had, rather than his explosive shooting and his aggression and his tackling. He did have those subtle qualities that stood him out from the rest. He was a wonderful, talented footballer and a character as well. And you ended up getting really well with him as well. And you got to earn your respect with Dixie.
Yeah, No, I get that. Yeah, that's what comes out when like you guys talk about Julian. I think yeah, Martin was like, he was a great trainer if what they were doing he wanted to do. That's basically what he said, and I was
He
like,
never warmed up. He
that's what I mean.
used to come in and smash balls in top corner, and I used to go out because I had to warm up because I'd had quite a few injuries, and I used to go out and warm up for half an hour, beforehand, and do a little bit of work and a little bit of extra work before and after. And he was like sometimes the first on the training ground, smashing balls in the top corner, and daft as it sounds, sometimes the last as well. Yeah. And unless he weren't driving his Harley Davidson fat boy to training with the dog on the petrol thing. But yeah, he. No, I would play him on the left, and I would have gone Tim on the right. I mean, you leave players out, but obviously you play that system.
Yeah, of course you do. Yeah,
you've got to, you can't play. You could play Kevin Keane on the right, who was a wonderful footballer, and Matty Holmes and people like that on the left hand side. Again, one really, really good footballer, and but yeah, you can't. Dixie and Tim would definitely be picked.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good shout. And then to sort of who have we got for the last couple of positions? And who's going to be your super strikers and stuff like that, Pete?
Well, I think when you actually look at the goals ratio, and you can't really go any further than the two that Chai would pick and he actually scored quite a lot of goals. I think he played about, I don't know, I think he played 150, 160 games for West Ham. Was Trevor Morley.
Yeah. And
I thought Trevor did a very, very good job for West Ham in an era where it was tough. I didn't play a lot with. It's a toss-up whether I go with there's three of them. There's three lads that we played with, and there was even Lee Chapman. But you can't play obviously Lee and Trevor together. So you'd have to go with one or the other, and I would definitely go with Trevor because he was a great character and a great worker, and did a lot of unselfish and savoury things on the pitch that a lot of people didn't really appreciate. But the other three would either be, the caravan of love would be Jonah. He obviously came in, and I thought he did really well for West Ham. But the two I would either go, you'd either go for TC or you'd go with Clive.
Yeah.
And I never played a lot with Tony.
No.
Tony's record was great. I never played a lot with Tony. But because he was an ultimate professional, Clive Allen, and he was the first person that actually picked me to give us a lift to go training, I'm going to put Clive Allen in the team.
Yeah, that's a great shout.
Because he was instrumental in us getting promoted as well that year.
He was. And he scored that. He scored the goal. He scored the second goal against Cambridge, wasn't it? And then the place just erupted. And
you know what? I just think sometimes as well, you don't just look at like what people contribute sort of, on a Saturday or a Tuesday night. You know what I mean? At a windswept, Stoke City or Sunderland or whatever. Yeah. You look at what they do after training and before training, and Clive was just the ultimate professional. He was like, great guy, always willing to help people. I always remember him and another lad who I forgot to say on the left was Mark Robson, who was a great lad, wonderful player, Robbo. And he always stayed behind and did extra training with myself and others. And Clive was always that guy, always willing to help out and simplified things. He really. I was surprised. Obviously, I think he went into the game, but for Tottenham, and then he sort of came out of it. But I don't know what he's doing now. But yeah, good pro.
Yeah, and a nice guy.
And that's my 3-5-2.
Yeah, no, it's great. I think it's great, Pete. They're absolutely brilliant. Look, I know that the beach is calling and the beer is calling. Of course, it's sorry. Sorry.
Don't say that.
The reading room and the cup of tea is calling. Pete, it's been absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for your time, especially being over there and stuff. I really appreciate you. And charging your laptop up in case you had a power cut as well is.
Well, it is. I'm still on 100%. So it's a pleasure, and it's sometimes I do miss English football. You know, and everybody always says to me, I talked to this friend of mine who was a big West Ham fan, and he said, "Where did you live?" And I said, "You know, I never left Southend.
Yeah.
I lived in Southend all the time, and I used to travel backwards and forwards, and had all my mates were all West Ham fans."
It's not a bad. I mean, I live in Hornchurch, so I live Gideon Park. So you know, I've got friends that go Southend quite a bit. Ain't a bad
Gideon Park's posh.
Yeah, Gideon Park, Hornchurch.
I love Southend. I enjoyed it, and I love that part of the world, and it was great. And then near Rochford and that, where I used to walk the dogs and that. And but yeah, you know, sometimes you hanker and you cling on to sort of like English football, and and I just thought, out of all this, you know, unprecedented times and, you know, tough times, and, you know, country is going through a bit of a very, you know, some really difficult issues at this present time, is that, you know, people start being a little bit more kinder to each other. And
and I think people are appreciating things more. So it seems people are communicating more with people, although they can't communicate them properly, like, you know, over Zoom. Like, you know, as I said, I had to teach my mother-in-law how to use FaceTime and WhatsApp and things like that. And it just, I mean, I've had 2 birthdays, my wife and my daughter's birthday in lockdown, and it's all a bit more creative, think a bit more. It's easy enough to have gone to Pizza Express or something for something to eat for dinner for a birthday party, but you have to. Everyone seems to be a lot bit more. There's a lot more community spirit. You know, obviously, until recently, we do the clapping outside on a Thursday for the NHS, and I've heard some great stories about people who are doing. I was talking to Jeff Pike the other day, and they're doing a quiz night in his.
Still works at the FA, doesn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, but he does like in his cul-de-sac. They're doing a quiz night where they're sort of out on their drive, and one person's doing the quizzes and things like that. It's lovely. It's absolutely lovely.
That's nice.
And then when the Premier League comes back, everyone slags each other off again, and yeah, back to normal, you know.
Well, let's hope they can get the pubs up, and you know sooner rather than later. Then you can go down and watch it in the boozer and that. So yeah, it's just unfortunate, but you know, I'll be watching with keen interest from Monrovia in Liberia, and it's hopefully I can get home end of August. So yeah, I've been in lockdown. It finishes on the 21st. Yeah, it's not a lockdown like you lads have had. You know, you guys have had it a lot tougher than us, and but yeah, we've got limited cases and limited deaths, and you know, the government seem to have got a control over it, which is good. But yeah, you know, let's get the football back up and running, and let's hope West Ham stay up.
Yeah, I think we will. I think I'm positive. I'm actually in a weird way, I'm really positive the fact that it's all going to be closed doors, because I think sometimes, you know, I mean, you've obviously been at Upton Park when players, you know, when the fans are up against you. Some players don't do well under negative pressure if they're not strong enough, and I think at times that's happened at London Stadium, you know. And I think there's going to be a few more teams are going to creep in over the next 9 games or how long it is, because you're going to get the lower league teams fancying going to the Liverpools and getting something, because there's not the crowd pressure of an away game. I think the Bundesliga, I think it's 25% of home games have been won. So the, you know,
I did see that. Yeah, I did notice that. There's been quite a lot of you know, sort of results which have really sort of come out of left field, and a lot of people have not expected, and you know the away wins. So yeah, I look forward to it. But no, I've enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Cheers.
Thanks for inviting me on.
Absolute pleasure. And obviously, thank you to everyone for watching. You know what to do: like, share, subscribe, do what you want. And for me and Pete, take care, everyone. Stay safe, and see you soon. Bye bye, everyone. Bye bye.
Great stuff. Thank you. Take care.